Okay, thanks for joining us today on the American Hunting Podcast. My name is Sean, along with my pal Joel here, and we have a special guest today, Mr. Steve Kinker from Kinker's Taxidermy and Wildlife Art in Greensburg, Indiana. Welcome, Steve. Appreciate you being here.
Thank you very much.
We've talked. This is our. I always get in the habit of mentioning this is like our 14th, I think, podcast, and I think sometimes taxidermy is overlooked. You know, especially in this kind of these conversations. I know I not only is it overlooked, I think by the majority of hunters, they look at it as like, oh, I'll never have something I would want mounted or I would be able to mount. But yeah, I know you've done so. I've been to your shop a couple of times, and we were just talking before we started. We actually met on a lease that I had, and you were literally just driving by in your pickup truck one day.
Yes.
And stopped, and we visited like friendly people do in the country.
Well, like 10 years ago?
Yeah, exactly.
It's been a while ago.
It's been a little bit ago.
Yes.
But yeah, he was, Steve was just nice enough to stop, say, hey guys, and that's something on all of our leases. Frankly, I like to talk to the locals.
Absolutely.
I prefer to meet them, the ones next door. But any of them, hey, if you see my truck down here 3 or 4 times, and then all of a sudden you see a different truck, or it's nice to have somebody, some eyes on it. So
sure.
I appreciate that. But yeah, we talked for a second, and he said, I have a taxidermy shop up, what are you, half a mile from where we were?
It's not very far at all. Yes.
Yeah, and then I introduced a friend of ours to Steve, and I think he's been bringing some pretty cool stuff to you.
Absolutely.
He kills big stuff.
Yes.
So,
he keeps us busy.
Nice. Well, good deal. Well, Steve, why don't we start this way? Okay. Why don't we just tell us a little bit about your story? Taxidermy is not something that I think people get into without a lot of thoughts. I mean, well, how'd you get into it?
I got into taxidermy when I was about 8 years old.
Really?
I grew up on a family farm down Decatur County, Indiana, around Greensburg, and I had seen a mount that someone had, and something hit me, and I just felt like taxidermy is something I had to learn, even at that age.
No kidding.
I had bought a course. In those days, actually, you didn't have the internet or anything like that. So they had a course in the back of, it was like Fur Fishing Game or Outdoor Life for $15. I didn't have $15, so I saved my money and bought the course, and that's how my career in taxidermy started.
Do you remember what it was that you saw?
I think it was a red fox mount.
Red fox.
Yes.
If it would have been a bad mount, would you felt the same way, or was it because it was good?
Possibly. It honestly, I something came over me, and I thought this is something I had to learn, and to this day, I feel I was put here to be a taxidermist. I really do.
So, when did you know it was going to be your profession, your path in life?
Well, after I started practicing through like junior high and high school and so forth, it was always my dream to be my profession. But I didn't know of anyone in Indiana or around where we was at that can make a living at it. So, being an 18-year-old kid, how do you make a living at something like this when you don't see anyone in front of you doing it?
Right.
So I had other jobs, where I would work through the summer and stuff. Then I would be laid off in the winter, and I would practice my taxidermy through the winter and spring.
It's a good time to be laid off as a taxidermist in the winter. When
absolutely.
Killing stuff.
Absolutely. So then also, after work picked up, okay, how do I get enough work to keep me busy year-round? Because in Indiana, we have deer, we have turkeys and things like that. So getting more big game from out west, and then also the African market, because their seasons are just the opposite of ours.
How do you get game from out west? Are there just Indiana guys that went out and hunted out west and brought theirs back?
Mainly, yeah. We get whether it's elk, mule deer, antelope, mountain lions from all over out west. We get stuff from Alaska, British Columbia.
Really?
Yeah.
But it's mostly Indiana guys, or that go in and bring it back.
Mostly.
To you.
Some of the stuff is shipped in, salt dried. When we get something in from out there, the skin is salt dried.
Okay.
So all we get is like antlers or horns, and then the skin is completely salt dried.
Very interesting.
Yes.
Yeah, I've noticed that, in the industry, or leasing's a good example, but there's everything seems to be going with YouTube in particular. DIY, do it yourself, and I'll full disclosure, 15, 20 years ago, I looked up I thought taxidermy would be a great job. I was a fireman. All firemen have part-time jobs. 90% of them are cutting grass. Don't want to cut grass, bad allergies, just hate cutting grass. So I thought taxidermy would be ideal.
Sure.
And then, like probably most, I buy the VHS cassette at the time, and it was a squirrel.
Yes.
And, I watched the video. I'm like, I really don't have a dead squirrel around. I'm going to cut grass.
How quickly do you realize there's a skills gap there? You're like, oh, this is...
Well, honestly,
this is hard.
With this, I took my first deer that I wanted mounted to a guy in his garage. How many plate? That's got to be 80% of the industry.
Sure.
And he's like, I'm too busy, but if you want to do it right there, I'll show you as I do these how to do it. Okay, fine. And then I was really into it for the first couple nights. And then it's just every little pin, every little thing. And I'm just like, let's just get this thing done. And I've never tried it since. And that's what a great term. There is a talent gap or an ability gap there. And I think a lot of it's mental, frankly. I don't have the mental capacity to sit so long to make sure that it's perfect. That sound familiar?
It does. I definitely have the patience for taxidermy, but there's other things in life that I do not have patience for. So,
do you feel anxiety about handling somebody? This is your you do this every day, but this is this person's once in a lifetime bow hunt for and they trust you with that. That's I would feel a huge burden.
There's definitely a responsibility
absolutely.
there.
That's what drives me.
Is that right?
I thrive on that. If we get something in that I've never laid my hands on in my entire life, I will research that animal completely, and that's what drives me. I can't wait to get something that I've never laid my hands on.
Really?
Yes.
So there are, with something like that, an animal you've never, like you said, had your hands on before, have to be fundamentals, I would assume, in taxidermy that apply across the board.
Absolutely. Yes.
And then you take those and then you build on the style of whatever animal that you're dealing with at that time.
Yes, absolutely.
Interesting.
Yes.
That is interesting.
Yeah.
Is there anything I can do with my animal that you can't fix? Not just you, but most taxidermists. I would love for everybody listening to go to Kinker Taxidermy. I get that. But if you don't, I can't. If my knife slips when I'm field dressing a deer, I'm like, I just ruined the whole mount. That's not necessarily true, is it?
No. Knife cuts and things like that absolutely can be repaired to an extent. Things that can't be repaired, let's say if someone's dragging their deer out and they wear the hair down on the shoulders, things like that.
The deer I have hanging in my office.
Yeah.
We drug it.
Sometimes you'll burn the tips off.
Yeah.
The hair won't come completely off, but you'll wear the tips off. So even myself, one of those little blue tarps, wrap the deer in, or an actual little drag or something you can lay the deer in. Things like that can't be repaired.
Actually makes it easier to drag, too.
Absolutely.
Honestly.
There's no resistance. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good information.
Yeah.
Now, kind of back to the DIY guys and YouTube. I've fixed my dryer, my washer. I've fixed so much stuff.
I just told you about my mower last night.
Exactly. Got a mower. So, there's so much information available. Has that hurt your business, or are you busy fixing YouTube attempts at taxidermy?
No, it really hasn't affected our business.
Really?
I'm a firm believer good taxidermy is artwork, and guys will find I'll call it a style in taxidermy, and then they will continue to come to you. But there are many, many good taxidermists out there. Taxidermy is all about being creative. And also when we get into life-size pieces and even game heads, not just buying a mannequin from a supplier and mounting it up for the customer. It's doing, resizing it to fit the skin, changing the pose, doing your own touch to it where it's a custom piece.
Okay.
And that's where I feel, have been very successful as far as doing that in taxidermy.
So this is the most frustrating thing I think most guys would admit. A year. I bring my deer in. You get it back in a year, and people just want. And I think that's what would drive them to the YouTube thing. Is like, wait a minute, maybe I could do this myself.
Well, yeah. Let me back up a little bit on that, because that's kind of part of my question. Is, let's say I'm in a position this fall where I can get my first deer mounted. What do I expect when I walk through the doors of a taxidermy shop? What questions should I be asking? What information should I be giving you? What's that process look like? And then on the back end, how long does it take?
Okay.
Whitetail specifically?
Sure.
A deer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Whitetail deer we will have out by the following season, because there are so many whitetail hunters, we will have them out by the following season. When we get into the larger stuff, the custom stuff, then yes, we are over a year. We can go into 2 years on some stuff, on life-size lions and different things like that with complete habitat. When you're going to a taxidermy shop, for instance, with a deer, prior to going, I would go there before season, check out their work, ask them, basically the turnaround time on it. Also, check out some reference, so you can kind of see the longevity of some of the mounts. That's where I would start, and definitely cost also.
Sure.
But a few $100s in taxidermy can go a long ways as far as longevity.
Yeah, so that's an interesting point. I never thought about the longevity of a piece that you do should be a factor a guy considers.
Absolutely.
Like what are we talking about? What's it? So it looks good on day one, and then maybe 3 years down the road, not so good. What would we look at? Are we looking at? I'll bet you pick it out easily, and I just glance at it and that looks fine to me.
If it is tanned properly, and it is kept in a climate control, so you have heat in the winter, you have air conditioning in the summer. I have pieces that have been mounted for 20 years. And the only difference is the dust, obviously, is hard on everything. But if you can clean them several times a year, there should be no cracking. There should be nothing like that.
What's the best way? How do you go about cleaning them out?
Feather duster works good to go with the hair. Windex on a Q-tip, like for the eyes, nose, and things like that. Definitely keep all your mounts out of sunlight, even sunlight coming through a window. So basically a trophy room with no windows is the best, because sunlight will absolutely destroy anything.
Is that right?
Sunlight
That's
will,
interesting.
yes.
I got mine in my basement. I should be good.
Yes.
Yeah.
But at the same time, that's a good thought.
Yes.
I did notice. I think it was on the deer that I've mounted, though. You can start to see a little of the mold.
Okay. Yeah.
What's it called? It's not a mold.
The mannequin.
Yeah, the mannequin part. Through the teeth.
Yeah.
Is that just the skin just kind of shrinking back?
Yeah.
And is that because it wasn't pinned correctly, or wasn't mounted?
Probably the tanning. Tanning,
Okay.
a good tan and a good adhesive to hold it's leather once it's tanned,
Right.
to hold it in place.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's a good question to ask somebody. How do you tan it?
Yes.
And what do we want and what do I not want?
You would want today there are many good tans out there versus 10 years ago. Commercial tans, the tanneries are great, and they also have some tans that guys can do in small shops and stuff. I mean, there really are some great tans.
Okay.
No dry preservatives. I definitely wouldn't recommend dry preservatives. That's where you will get a tremendous amount of shrinkage. You will get things pulling and things like that, which I don't know hardly any shops that would use something like that anymore.
But if you're asking around and a guy's
Absolutely.
like, I'll do it for you. I do it on my spare time, and we've got a good friend of ours that does that, and I've seen his work, and it's really good.
Right.
But
He has them
there's
he has them hanging around,
here.
and I look at it and go, yeah. For what he would charge basically for material,
Sure.
I'm like, that would be a great first one for me. Only
Absolutely.
because, I don't have one yet, and I want to start somewhere.
Sure.
So,
You didn't mount the one last year?
no, it's a European mount.
He killed a buck last year.
Did you?
Though.
2
Yeah,
years ago.
It was 2 years ago.
2 years
wasn't
ago.
it?
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
Well, good. So, okay, now I'm going to ask him, how do you tan this? What else do I need to provide for them? And I know some of this stuff, and I'm trying to ask you a little bit of a leading question, but I know there's some measurements. There's a way to cut my deer, to remove the hide, and then temperature-wise, you said some of the stuff out west comes to you salted.
Yes, it's already skinned out.
Okay, for me to
it's
salt
dried.
mine? and bring it to you that way?
A whitetail, excuse me, a whitetail I would not.
Okay.
What I would, if you can't get it to the taxidermist right away, as long as it's just the head, go ahead and freeze it. You can freeze it if you can't get to us right away.
The whole head.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. The only reason we get stuff salt dried from out west, it's such a long ways to travel.
Sure.
With things like that. But white-tailed deer, if you can't get it to a taxidermist right away, I would freeze it. Freeze it is what I would do.
Okay.
And another thing with freezing it, anymore, a lot of these deer are loaded with ticks. And freezing it for at least a week will kill the ticks, is what it'll do.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, yeah, we might have to, before you leave, I want to get into that tick conversation.
Yes,
I've heard
it is.
It might be a bigger problem than I think a lot of people think.
I will guarantee it is. Yes.
All right, we'll circle back to the ticks.
Yes.
'Cause I want to finish up here. So if somebody's listening and they are new, I measure the circumference of the neck.
Yeah,
give that to you.
The taxidermist will do that.
Okay.
The measurements I like to take are on the carcass. I don't take many measurements over the hair because over the hair is not an accurate measurement.
Oh, interesting.
So once I skin the cape off of the head, I will take measurements on the carcass.
And how much of that? So I need to bring you the whole neck?
About 8 to 10 inches of neck.
Okay.
And then I will take the measurements off of that, and then I will also take them off the head, and then I will also take them from like the tip of the nose to the antler burrs, and the tip of the nose to the antler or to the main beam tips, so I get the antlers back on properly.
And that's just so you can more closely replicate the way the deer
Exactly
was.
how it was. Yes.
And can you order? Most mannequins come. I mean, you can custom order these mannequins like that, or do you modify the mannequin when you get it?
Most of the whitetail, we can buy what we need because there are so many whitetail mannequins on the market today. There's literally thousands of whitetail mannequins compared to some species we work with where there might be only 1 or 2 mannequins, or there may be no mannequins. So then we have to build them. But whitetail hunting is so popular across the entire nation. That's the reason they have made so many mannequins for them.
Yeah, I think some guys probably get a little frustrated with the amount of attention the whitetails get, especially waterfowl guys. But the fact is, the whitetails just drive this industry.
It does. It
they
really does.
do. And that's where the dollars are. It's where the hunters are.
That's right.
It's just gonna go that way. We try to do our best to really include waterfowlers in particular because we've both trying to get into it a little bit. And it's fun.
It's fun.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Do you do much waterfowl? Do you do birds?
I used to.
Yeah.
I don't anymore.
Do you turn it away because you just?
I do. We have so many other projects going on. Something had to give, so fish and waterfowl and so forth had to give. So who knows? Someday I might get back into it.
Yeah, it makes sense. Okay, so let's go back to the 2 years thing. Sometimes mounting a lion doesn't take 2 years.
No,
but it's got to wait in line. Is that pretty much what it is? Just for you to get to it?
Designing the whole piece. So in other words, I will get with the client. We will check the space in his home or in his game room where he wants to put it. Exactly where it wants to go, ceiling height, door size, everything. And then we will completely design a custom piece is what we will do. So whether we're building rocks for it, custom poses, the whole 9 yards.
I feel like the 2 year thing could be frustrating, but at the same time, if you're getting a 100% custom piece and there is a 2 year wait anyways, you're dealing with a guy who's legitimate. Right. People want his work done. So I think the payoff is probably worth it.
Oh, and we don't do 2 of them the same. It's gonna be.
I would like that a lot.
It will be a one of a kind piece. We will do some similar, but we are going to change something to where your piece is one of a kind.
Tell me a little bit about your staff. You're doing design work and going to people's homes and what you got, 10, 11 people?
I wish. No.
Just you?
Myself and my wife, yes.
No kidding.
Wow. Yes. Taxidermy is a strange business. Steve and I had talked about this to where you can't just hire somebody off the street to come in and do taxidermy. Taxidermy is an art, and when you have someone come in to do that, you're changing your artwork completely. Yes, they can do certain things. They can, sand mannequins, prep skins, and things like that. it's one of the few businesses that is like that, to where when you start bringing people in, you've changed the artwork is what you've done.
Yeah, if you look at yourself as an artist, obviously you do. And I've seen your work. That's a fair
It's art,
description. I can understand that. It makes sense. But my gosh, then at some point you're having to flesh the hides, or your wife is. That's very interesting.
There's certain things we can.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah. I'm a sculptor. I'm a fabricator. I'm a painter. You name it.
Have you ever played with the idea of expanding and hiring a staff and trying to dish out some of those responsibilities to a group of people?
Some of it, yes. Some of the duties, yes. Some
There's
of the minor
you have to take on yourself.
Yes,
right?
some of the minor things, and we've had some people in the shop that helped out, and they did a fine job. They really did. It's a fine line on what all you can let them do. It really is.
Yeah.
That probably ties back into feeling the weight of the burden of of taking on somebody's pride and joy.
Yeah.
You come in with a grizzly or a 450-pound black bear.
Yes.
And you let some quote unquote kid from high school in an evening
Yeah.
ruin a hide.
No.
It's like, oh boy.
No.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
Well, I even get it on a smaller level at work. There are certain things where I'm just like, I'd rather just do it because then I know if anything
Correct.
goes wrong for whatever reason,
Sound familiar, guys?
anything goes wrong for whatever reason, no one else has to. That's my responsibility,
Sure.
and no one else has to take the blame for that.
Absolutely.
So I 100% can relate to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we've done life-size stone sheep, life-size desert bighorn sheep, life-size brown bears. So these guys have waited their entire life to hunt some of these things and have a huge investment in them.
Sure.
They want me working on
What
it.
is that? What is that feeling like when a guy gets like that once in a lifetime sheep hunt? And you deliver that final product. What is that like for you? I can imagine what it's like
the
for
big
him.
reveal.
Yeah.
It's the next best thing to hunting it yourself.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
I got goosebumps right now. Honestly,
Really?
It is.
That's cool, isn't it?
Yeah, it'd be fantastic.
Yeah.
It's a way to be
Yeah.
involved. When
Exactly.
Most of us hunt during hunting season. Maybe we hang some stands. We're going to go to that later today.
Yeah.
But it's a way to be
Yes.
involved when you're not really involved.
Yeah.
That use the sheep as the example, right? When anyone goes to that guy's game room in his house and they're going to say, "That's awesome. That looks great." He's never. Your end product is what is going to live on the rest
Exactly.
of the time.
Yes.
And someone will be like, "Man, who did that?" He's going to be like, "Oh, I don't remember."
Yeah.
Like you're part of that story.
Yes.
You're part, and you cannot be separated from it. I think that's just so
That's a
fascinating.
great thought. That's a fantastic point. It really is.
I had a gentleman 2 years ago. He went on his first sheep hunt. He owned his own business his entire life. He sold his business, and he was right at late 60s, early 70s. So he never got to do much hunting his whole life because he owned his own business, is working all the time. And so he wanted to kill a sheep. He booked a stone sheep hunt, and he went up to British Columbia. He got his stone sheep, and he said, "Steve," he said he shot the sheep, and he said he just broke down crying. He said he was so emotional.
Yeah.
And with him telling me all this, and then me getting the job to mount it for him, I could just relate to him with what all he was going through.
Where he can look at it every day.
Absolutely.
And know that you're
Yeah.
That's it's. I mean,
I
hate to say it, but it's almost more you than almost the animal. Honestly, I mean, it's a lot of Steve Kinker in that mount.
Yeah.
It's almost, and if even something small is wrong,
Yeah.
they're going to know that's
Oh,
going to be the
absolutely.
thing they go to every time when they won't be able to not see it.
Absolutely.
And I'm not trying to add any more pressure to your
No,
job, but
no,
the more I think about it, it's a responsibility. You have a heavy career choice here.
Do you
But
turn
that-
work away? I mean, I'm
Oh,
just
yes.
I'm just
Oh,
thinking.
yes.
I mean,
Yes.
even big sheep. I mean, even that kind of stuff.
Yes.
I'm thinking if it's just you and your wife, and you're telling me you're almost, you're saying I'll get your deer done by the next season, and then some guys come in with all kind of stuff.
Yeah.
There's got to be sorry guys.
Absolutely. We turn a lot of work away. I guess I'm later in my career where I'm starting to do more of what I want and where my passion is at.
Amen.
That's the reason
for
why
you.
I'm not doing fish. I'm not doing the birds and things like that. I like customers that appreciate the hard work and the quality that we put into it, to where I can really relate to them. I want that combination right there.
Yeah.
The relationship.
A lot of repeat customers.
Oh yeah.
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 I would
Absolutely.
imagine.
Yeah.
It seems like you're in a market where, I'm sure you can charge whatever you probably want to charge.
Well, we have to charge enough, obviously, to keep the business going.
Sure.
And there's always someone that is going to offer to do it cheaper, but it's the custom work, I think, that really, where we have a strong following. I really do.
Awesome.
Yeah.
You mentioned going to somebody's house and looking at where they're going to display it. If I recall, when I was in your shop a few years ago, there was a picture there of you doing a giraffe.
Yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit about that story, about where that person was going to keep his giraffe? And how
What kind of house was that?
I think you were up on a ladder.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Just walk us through that kind of beginning to end, really. Just how did they, I guess they just took the hide off like anything else.
Yeah. That giraffe was taken in Africa in 2008 by a lady. Her and her husband was over in Africa hunting with us. And actually it was going to be a shoulder mount, but still the shoulder mount was, I think, about 12 feet is what it was.
Okay.
And obviously when they take something like that in Africa, before they hunt the giraffe, when they take it on the spot, the community comes in and they butcher the whole thing right there. So I want to get that out there right away, that nothing is wasted.
Okay.
I mean, they clean everything, the organs, they clean everything. There's nothing wasted at all. She got the giraffe. We got it back from the tanner. We got all of our measurements and so forth that we needed. And then we basically just designed a piece for their trophy room. We built a tree that went in behind an acacia tree with all the leaves and thorns and stuff on it. So the giraffe is kind of like up in the canopy of the tree where it would be feeding.
Yeah.
And then we had to build the whole thing so everything breaks down into smaller pieces to go through a 36-inch door. So,
Wow.
excuse me. So that's the tough thing at times. When you do big pieces, they still have to go through certain size doors. So then we just do.
It's like the most realistic, complex Lego
Yeah.
set.
That's what I would forget, though. I'd put 8 months into doing this giraffe and get to the house.
Can't get it through the door.
It's got to go down in the basement and turn a corner.
Yeah, and turn.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's difficult. Well, that's interesting. Had you ever done a giraffe, and have you done one since?
No, I have never had never done one, and that is the last one.
Is that the most interesting piece you've ever done, or in your opinion, what's the one you look back and go, that was the coolest one, the most challenging one, whatever? What's memorable
question.
to you?
That is a good question. That was definitely right up there. I don't know if there's any that'll take the lead just yet, but some of the sheep in mountain goats and things like that, brown bears, leopard is probably right there.
Really cool.
Yeah.
I want to circle back a little bit. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, I want to circle back a little bit. When you were telling your draft story, you said a lady and her husband, you said we were out there hunting in Africa.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about that.
We was over there with a group in South Africa in 2008. That's the first time I'd went to Africa. We'd taken a lot of plains game. She had taken a giraffe also. And that's just something that since 2008, I've been going back almost every year with clients, hunting plains game and then some of the dangerous game too. Buffalo and croc and lion, leopard.
A lot different than North America, I'd assume.
Yes, it is.
Is croc in the Big Five?
No.
Okay,
No.
I didn't think so.
Yeah.
And what's the Big Five, just for people that are listening and don't know what I'm talking
For
about?
me, what's the Big
Okay,
Five?
and for Joel. So the Big Five are the dangerous animals in Africa, and they are?
The elephant, the lion, the leopard, the buffalo, and I believe it's the hippo, I think.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I think you're right. So,
Yeah.
yeah. That's the Big Five.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you done some crocs?
Yeah.
I bet you, yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. It's just cool stuff.
Yeah.
This is just one of those things. It's like, I mean, if you're, for our listeners, our viewers, I think by now you figure out Steve doesn't just do whitetail and turkey.
Right.
This is the real deal. So
Africa is extremely interesting.
Now, you don't just go to Africa anymore. You're not just a hunter, right?
Correct.
Lay it out there. Let's say if somebody, just a couple of years ago, our friend Steve, he's been out a couple of times, and a couple of years ago, and we talk about our evolution as sportsmen and all that kind of stuff a lot. I was like, it doesn't do anything for me. I really don't want to go there, and I don't know why I can justify this in my head. Like, the deer here are a nuisance. I have a problem killing them. I mean, the turkeys aren't. So, and I don't mind that. The geese, they're a nuisance. To fly that far to Africa a few years ago, I thought, whatever. I would love to go with just a camera, just because I do want to just see it. And you guys just got back from another successful trip.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that seems pretty cool. Now I'm like kind of leaning towards, I think I do kind of want to try that sometime. But yeah, what is your affiliation with, setting up trips for those people who, again, might not think it's in the cards for them, but maybe it is, Just walk us through what you can arrange and what's it cost from the time I go to the Indianapolis airport or any airport, the time I get back. What's that going to run me?
Okay. When I went in 2008, I realized when I was there, and I was thinking about it prior to going, that Africa would work into our taxidermy business great because their seasons are just the opposite of ours here. So right now we're basically early June, going into summer. They're just going into winter. So there's not a lot you can hunt here in North America in April, May, June, July, August. So it's a great filler from hunting here in North America, let's say whitetail and stuff in the fall or big game out west in the fall. You can go over there in our summer here in North America and hit their season dead on in the winter and hunt all kinds of plains game. And as you get more experience, maybe get into some of the dangerous game and so forth. But what I do, I have been hunting with the same people over there since 2008, Mabuyu Safaris, and we have taken hundreds of animals over the past 11 years. When someone is interested in Africa, what we will do is get with them and kind of see what types of animals they're interested in, and then I will talk to HP with Mabuyu Safaris and get a price, and we'll do some negotiating on price and animals and things like that, and get somewhat of a package to start with is what we'll do. Now, once we get over there, the package can change, whether they don't want to take an animal or they want to take something different. We also use another company that sets up all of our airfare. If you are taking rifles, they will take care of gun permits. They will meet and greet us at the Johannesburg airport. So we have a representative with us at all times. So it is 100% safe.
Okay. That's a good point.
We also have a company that sees all of our importation out of Chicago. So basically, when someone wants to hunt Africa with us, we have ourselves and other companies all in place to take care of basically everything is what we will do.
And the call starts with you.
Yeah. Yes.
Well, what? Give me a package you would recommend for somebody that white Midwestern guy, myself.
Firefighter.
Sure.
Good call.
Sure.
Yeah, but somebody's got some. They want to, and this is a one trip time. This is a one time. This is a once in a lifetime. Give me the 3 to 5 animals that you would really recommend they focus on.
Definitely kudu, impala, gemsbuck, maybe a zebra. People like zebra. Personally, I can't leave Africa without shooting a warthog. Really? I've shot probably 15 warthogs, but I can never get enough warthogs.
Now, are they like coyotes over there? I mean, are they kind of
there's
a problem?
Lot. There's a lot, and everyone's different.
This is a game-rich environment. You don't get shut out. You don't go sit blind and be like, I didn't see anything today.
Yeah, that won't happen. That's not going to happen. Actually, last year we had a young man that had wanted to hunt Africa ever since he was a little kid. He graduated high school last year, and he'd saved his money since he was a little kid, and he hunted Africa with us. Wyatt, I think his package was about $6,000 or $7,000, and that does not include airfare. Okay, so we've had packages of probably $5,000 to $6,000 on up into the $20-some thousand range or more. Africa, it's basically what your budget will allow as far as the number of animals that you want to take. So we like to start with, okay, I would like maybe, the kudu, the impala, the warthog, things like that, and then we'll kind of build from there is what we can do to keep it within your budget. So
Interesting.
Yeah.
So for $10,000, I could have a hell of a hunt.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And now you start looking at a whitetail hunt in Missouri for 5 days is half that.
Yes.
$5,000
You
to
know,
$6,000.
and you're doing that, yeah.
Yes.
So, but you can fly to Africa and have
Completely different experience.
And with the plains game, you for that cost, you will have an opportunity at the animal. Obviously, if you wound the animal, you still pay for it.
Right.
Okay. Sure. So, in other words, I've been on hunts out west and so forth, and let's say I book an elk hunt or a mule deer hunt, I may not get the animal, but I still pay that cost. Africa is not like that. Now, if you wound it, yes. And that's something we can always talk about. You always encourage people. The question always is, Steve, how far, can I expect to shoot and so forth? Rifle hunting, you shoot what you're comfortable with. You do not take a shot you are not comfortable with.
So you don't have a guide saying, take it. You just take it because
I'm
going to get a bigger,
He might be saying, okay, he's in range, but if you're not comfortable taking the shot, don't take it. Do not take it.
Do you get clients that book an Africa trip but really don't have much hunting experience outside of that? Is that common or not?
I have had some, yes.
Interesting.
Yes.
I wonder what would make someone that's they want to dip their toe into hunting, and that's the trip they make. Seems interesting to me.
It's possible.
And it's we could probably do a podcast just on that because for instance, if you're rifle hunting, prior to the safari, you've already discussed with the PH what the expectations are and what you're looking for. A good representative of the species. So in other words, when you're stalking through the bush and the PH puts the sticks down to shoot off of, you get on the sticks and 10 seconds, let's say. So that's one thing that a person really needs to practice at home. Put the sticks down, get on it, take your shot. Don't take 30 seconds, 40 seconds, a minute to take the shot. Because I've seen that happen, and I've seen a lot of game.
I feel like in certain scenarios, you just think about, like if we were to sit in silence here for 10 seconds, it would seem like an eternity. But with your adrenaline pumping and getting the sticks down and aiming on this animal, it's got to go like that, I would assume.
Now, you know what I want to do? I just want to stalk through the bush.
Oh,
if I was we're creeping through some stuff, that's probably when I'd be like, oh, crap, I'm in Africa, stalking through the bush.
Yes.
This is actually happening. Yeah. Here's something I've seen, though. And please explain this. The guide has the sticks, and the guide puts the sticks down and says, there you go, shoot. In my Midwest mentality, I'm like, hey, I can do that myself. I don't need anybody to hold my gun or anything like that. But why is it important for them to do that, for that role to be somebody other than you? Are you focused more on the animal, or?
They want you to focus completely on the shot. And I can't stress enough for anyone that's going to Africa, and if you're going with rifle, to practice shooting off of sticks. Having someone put the sticks down, get on the sticks, lean them back, and then lean into the sticks and squeeze around off at your target.
Practice how you play.
Practice.
That's great advice because they're difficult. Like even a monopod.
Oh, absolutely.
I've had a monopod. You see it on TV and you're like, oh, that'd be easy. And when you do it, I mean, that thing is all over the place.
Absolutely.
So, great advice.
Yep.
Practice.
And what happens in Africa lots of times, whether it's the grass or the bush, it's so high you can't sit down, get into a prone position to shoot or anything like that. So that is one reason why they do use the sticks a lot in Africa.
Danger. Tell me about the danger of actually hunting out there. Are you in any kind of peril when you're walking around? Listen, there's rhinos and lions out there.
Yep.
I'm assuming there's some level of danger, much more than here. But
Absolutely.
Do you feel it? Do you feel like, has your guide ever had to say, "Whoa, Steve, whoa, back out here"?
No.
They're going to charge or nothing.
No, we was hunting buffalo one year, and we kind of skirted the herd. They was going along the hillside, and we kept the wind in our favor, and we got up into some bush. And instead of them continuing to go the same direction that they were, they decided to turn the lead cow and come right towards us. And I was actually running the camera, and I, just kind of got a weird look on my face and looked over at HP, and I'm like, I was thinking the same thing he was, and he just said, "This isn't a time to be a hero." We just kind of picked up and got out, called the hunt.
That's the story I'm looking for.
That's
what I want.
And we ended up a few days later getting a good bull for the client. But if your tracker and your pH is walking on the right side around the bush, you're not going to be going on the left side of the bush. You're aware of your surroundings.
pH. You mentioned pH a couple times. That's
Yes.
professional hunter,
Professional hunter. And I say HP, that's my pH's name.
Okay.
Hendrix.
So HP is a pH?
Yes.
Interesting.
It's Hendrix, Petrius, so forth and so on. We call him HP. So, yes.
Okay.
But I've been hunting with him for 11 years. But yeah, I mean, there's the usual stuff. I mean, there's the bugs, the spiders, the snakes. But you're not out there to lollygag around. You're aware of your surroundings at all times, and you won't have any problems.
And I think some of it's free range, some of it's in
Absolutely.
a giant pen. They're under 45,000 acres.
Yes.
Okay. So
Yeah.
it's pretty much
It's enormous. Yes. In I know some people think, okay, it's high fence and so forth. Kind of the way I look at it, here in Indiana, let's say, was it Big Oaks down here? People love to deer hunt it. It's really no difference. That's a former military base.
And it's 50,000 acres.
It's 50,000 acres.
We were out there this year.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
wonderful place. With the fence in a lot of the African properties, they can maintain the quality of the animals. Obviously, the fences do not pertain to whether it's elephant or leopard or warthogs. I mean, a fence doesn't stop anything like that.
Right.
They can maintain the quality of the kudu and the gemsbuck and things like that.
Okay.
You go to some of the countries that aren't fenced, and the game is just almost non-existent. It's been poached out.
Oh, is that right?
Wow. Yes.
Yeah, that's the other thing. They can
Yes.
control who's in there, typically.
Yes,
So,
absolutely.
well, I don't know if, an Africa hunt's not in the cards for everybody.
Sure,
And
sure.
they might not be into it. That's fine, too.
Absolutely.
But if you think it might be something,
Absolutely.
then they need to get a hold of you at the shop.
Yes.
Do you have a website? Or you're on Facebook?
I'm on Facebook.
I know you're on Facebook.
Yeah. Just Steve Kinker on Facebook.
Okay.
Yep.
Interesting. Yeah, then give him a call.
Yeah,
because-
we'll post links. In
Yeah,
the
we'll do all
description
that,
also.
and we're not quite done yet. But I mean, we know a couple of your clients, and we've seen pictures of big cats, and some of the really and heard the stories of cool stories, really, just
Yeah.
of what they've done. Accommodations are great, meals are fantastic, all
yes.
included.
Yes.
This isn't a fly by night. You're not.
No.
It's not naked and afraid.
Yeah, there were some
No.
WhatsApp messages saying I'm really roughing it out here in Africa,
Yeah.
and it's like
Yeah.
going, dude, that's a freaking 5-star hotel.
Yeah, several of these places. My wife actually went with me in 2008, and I would not be afraid to take my wife on these other places. The meals, the accommodations.
Is there a cost for a non-hunter partner?
There
Non-hunting?
usually is, and it depends on packages. Sometimes, depending on what it is, there will be a cost. Other times, they'll say, okay, let's let the spouses come for free or something like that. So that is kind of negotiable at
I like
times.
that.
Cool.
So
We're going to Disney in a few weeks, me and
know.
my wife.
You'd
We
rather
backed
take her
that
to
up with a
Africa?
Namibia. Yeah,
there
Africa
you go.
safari
There you
trip.
go.
She'd probably be up for that. Interesting. What's the flight like?
It's long.
16, 17 hours?
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you want a plane for that long? A lot of sleeping? Or?
It's I always say it's like sitting in a tree stand. You don't look at your watch, and I'll watch some movies and try to sleep and things like that. But yes, it is long from Atlanta to Joburg. It's, 16, 17
Well,
hours.
if you're going out of Hartsfield in Atlanta, then it's probably a 5-hour delay as part of that. So, I've been to Tokyo a couple of times, and a friend of mine had the greatest quote, and I always remember it. He's like, "We're getting ready to get on this plane." He goes, "I could take an Ambien." and sleep for 8 hours, and when I wake up, I still have 8 hours to go.
Yeah.
That's brutal.
rough.
Yeah.
It's a long one. I
Yeah.
know that, but
It is.
it's, again, they keep you comfortable. It is what it is. My gosh.
Yeah.
They did 20 years ago. They didn't have iPads and movies.
Absolutely.
And, all kinds
And
of
the
stuff,
reward
so-
at the end of
That's what you look
all
at. You look at, okay, I'm going to be in Africa here for a week or so, and I know what the reward's going to be. So
Yeah, pretty cool. Well, before we get to our tail of the tape, let's circle back and talk real quick about the ticks. You're Midwest, or for the most part, you're concerned about ticks and the deer ticks on the deer herd.
yes,
Explain a little bit about your thoughts on that.
excuse me. Probably 15 years ago, in our shop, very rarely would we ever see ticks on whitetail deer. Now, I would say probably 90% of the deer that come in are infested with ticks. And I'm talking just the Cape for like a shoulder mount, literally have hundreds, if not thousands, of ticks on them. And most hunters do not know that until you start raising up the hair and really inspecting them, and then you can see all these ticks. And the scary thing is when you see little kids carrying the deer in and things like that and holding it and so forth, and some of these ticks are the size of pinheads. They're that tiny. I've got two good friends that have gotten Lyme disease. There needs to be something put out there like this to make people aware of the dangers with these ticks on these deer. I know that there are minerals that you can put out on your private property that repels ticks from deer, and we have been using it for probably 5 years now, and I know it works, and I would highly recommend
On my pin.
Remend it.
Mention the name.
It's Whitetail XTC,
Okay.
and it does work.
Whitetail XTC. Interesting.
Yes.
Is it a product of? Are there more ticks? Are they just
Yes.
finding deer more? I mean, what's the?
There's more ticks. Obviously, we're having warmer winters. When I take a cape off of a deer and it has ticks on it, I will place it in a freezer. The freezer's set on 0. If I take the cape out of the freezer in less than 4 days, the ticks are still alive.
That's crazy.
So what do we have this winter? A few days
A
below
handful.
0.
Yeah.
And I had a gentleman in the shop that was, I'll put it this way, highly educated and works for the state. And I brought up the tick situation. And he said, "Oh, we should be good, Steve." He said, "We're supposed to have a killing frost this coming weekend." I just ended the conversation right there.
Yeah.
People, a few days in the 20s or even below 0 isn't killing the ticks.
So what do we do? I mean, do you, I mean, and not maybe. I'm not saying you need to come up with an answer, but it's a problem. So
It's a huge problem.
So your point for mentioning this really is when you're doing the grip and grin, and you got the kids out
Oh.
with you and all that kind of stuff. You need to be really.
Absolutely.
You need to pay attention. What you're doing,
Yes.
go straight in the shower, all that kind of stuff. I hate ticks.
Yes.
It's a thing with
Yes.
me. It's why probably one of the reasons I don't love to turkey hunt, although I'm getting a little better. But yeah, we're going out today, and I mean, the last thing when I left the house today was, do I have
got
my
my
tick
spray.
spray?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And we do. So yeah,
Does that
good to
affect the
mention.
quality of the taxidermy itself in the long
Absolutely.
run? It can.
Absolutely. If you see your deer and if it has ticks, 99% of the time in the brisket area, the hairs are all going to be busted in the brisket area. So the deer has been rubbing, and where it can reach, it's also biting the ticks off. And if it can't reach them, another deer will be biting them off. So they're preening themselves is what
Just
they're
wearing
doing.
it out.
Yes. In Africa, ticks have wiped out entire species of animals.
Wow.
And in Africa, you have birds to help preen the animals. We don't have that here. So I guess what I'm also saying, if ticks aren't killing our deer, there's a good possibility they will be.
So one good winter with 10 days below 0, you think might help?
I think it would take more than that, actually.
Okay.
I do.
Yeah, I don't know.
I do.
We get into climate change some other time, but
Yeah.
Tick invasion. Just thinking about it
Yeah.
freaks me out.
Yeah. I'll show you some pictures sometimes,
Yeah.
and you guys will, it'll blow your mind.
we talked before we started here about taxidermy competitions, and you said, you're a humble person and you don't want to brag. So let me just mention a couple things. When people talk about taxidermy, I have a vision in my head of one thing that I saw at your shop, and that was a beaver that, and it had a blue ribbon on it. We'll just leave it at that.
Okay.
It looks like it's underwater, but it's not. And it's just, when you see that, that's probably the first time I thought, that is art in your word. That's the real deal. I mean, it's just the way the fur flows and the plant material that you've got up around it, and it's kind of like it's diving, and it's everything but the water is there. It is just really in my mind, the standout piece of taxidermy that I've ever seen.
Well, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
It's really, really sharp. So
Thank you.
last thing, you got anything else to go?
No.
Let's do the tail of the tape. Tail of the tape is just a couple questions that we ask every guest we have, see how they answer. And so we're going to lay them on you. Number one, what is your favorite tree stand snack?
Oh boy, tree stand snack. I love my M&M peanuts.
There you go.
I like those myself. I usually have a Red Bull because when I start to get a little groggy and I don't want to, don't want a problem. Most used hunting app on your phone. Do you have any apps on your phone that you use?
I do have the Deercast.
Oh, okay.
I tried the Deercast last year.
What did you think of it?
It was interesting. It's the
like
first
it.
time I tried it. Yeah.
I liked it.
Yeah.
You know,
Absolutely.
I'm a bit of a Drury fan. I'm a homer. I admit it.
Because they gave that thing away for free, too, and we were debating here how much they could theoretically charge for that.
We haven't seen that this year.
It hasn't been.
Interesting. I thought it was cool. You know, it put everything. I'm usually got an app for the weather and an app for this and an app for that, and they just put it all together. The moon, the weather, the wind, the barometric pressure was all in one place. I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I would agree. Favorite state to hunt?
Oh boy. Have to be, I'll give you two. Wyoming and Alaska.
Okay.
If that's okay.
Would you hunt out there?
Sure.
Wyoming, I've taken, I've killed a Boone and Crockett moose, Shiras moose in Wyoming. I've killed a elk in Wyoming. And Alaska, I killed a caribou.
Nice.
So yeah.
Alaska's
Very cool.
a beautiful place.
Yeah.
It really is. What outdoor show do you watch regularly? Do you watch any shows?
I do. I really like Tom Miranda.
African.
Yeah.
He does a lot of that.
And a lot
stuff.
of bow hunting. I love
territories.
bow hunting. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that goes right into my next question.
Yeah.
Firearm, crossbow, or compound bow?
My favorite?
Yeah.
Compound.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you use a crossbow?
I don't. Not
I don't
yet.
either.
Not yet.
Everybody says the same thing. You know, we're very pro get people into the sport.
Sure.
And so if that's what it takes, then come
Oh,
on.
absolutely.
But I haven't quite.
Yeah.
I've shot one.
I've hunted
and
with
like,
everything.
Ooh, that is nice.
Yeah.
It does travel
Sure.
a little further and a little faster.
Yeah.
So I do like it. The next question, I'm going to change up for you. It's what is your bucket list hunt? I think you've done most.
I was going to say.
I'm going to ask you, what is your bucket list animal to mount that you haven't mounted yet? Is there one that's like, that's the one I want to do next?
The one I want to mount next. Wow, that's a good question. I'm going to redo it a little bit. I've done several, but leopard, because I have a passion to hunt them also.
Yeah.
A leopard is on a whole nother league of any other animal, in my personal opinion. So to get to hunt them and to mount them is just, that's
I think
it for
you got
me.
one coming, don't you?
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
That is awesome, man. Steve, we greatly appreciate you coming
Well,
in
thank
today,
you
'cause
very
this has
much.
been it's just a topic that I don't think really gets talked about much.
Right.
People want to do it, but they don't bring somebody in and say,
Sure.
hey, what's the deal on this? So,
Yeah.
again, Kinker Taxidermy and Wildlife in Greensburg, Indiana.
Yes.
Wildlife Art, I should say,
Yep.
in Greensburg, Indiana. Phone number?
Yep, 812-662-6430.
And you don't have to live in central Indiana
No.
to contact Steve,
No.
especially about if you're
Yeah.
interested in an African hunt.
Yeah. We've got some stuff that actually goes to North Pole, the safari. We got stuff that goes to Denver, and I've never even met the people before in my life.
That is flattering. It's got to be flattering
it
for
is.
somebody to know
Yeah.
that you're going to do the work and they've never met you and seen your shop. So
Yeah.
fantastic. Well, we want to thank everybody for listening. I want to remind everybody that the American Hunting Podcast is brought to you by the American Hunting Lease Association. Everything you need to enjoy a safe, successful, affordable hunting lease all in one place. We have now added a monthly insurance option. So if you want to buy hunting lease insurance, up to this point you've been made to buy either March or August for the most part, regardless of when your lease starts.
I do want to clarify, it's not a monthly policy
for every month.
It's a monthly start date
Absolutely.
on an annual policy. So if you need something that starts in June, you can buy June, July, August, whatever you need to fit your lease schedule, we have for you.
The days of working on the insurance provider's schedule are over. If your lease starts in June, we've got a June 1st for you. If it starts in February or November, it doesn't matter. You want the most value that you can because we want to keep this affordable.
Yep.
We want more people hunting, more people leasing, and the way to do that is to make it easier for them to do that. So the American Hunting Lease Association is at ahuntinglease.org. Pay them a visit. Thank you on behalf of Joel, Steve Kinker.
Thank you very much.
We appreciate you guys listening. We'll see you next time.
See ya.
Thanks.
The American Hunting Podcast is brought to you by the American Hunting Lease Association. Everything you need to enjoy a safe, successful, and affordable hunting lease all in one place. Resources like the Secret to Hunting Private Land ebook and the Front Porch Kit, both free to download, to time-tested, attorney-approved, customizable lease agreements, and of course the most affordable hunting lease liability insurance policy you will find. Protect your landowner, yourself, and every member of your hunt club with the AHLA's complete risk management package. The American Hunting Lease Association, better coverage, better service, all at a better price.
The American Hunting Podcast is brought to you by HuntStand.com and the HuntStand app. Build detailed maps of your hunting areas, view and share your hunting area maps with their revolutionary online mapping technology, and use advanced tools that let you examine and understand your hunting area. Then print your high-quality, fully customizable map on several types of materials. Download the HuntStand app or print a map. Visit HuntStand.com. Start mapping now.
Hey, man, the fact that you're still watching really inspires us, and we appreciate it. If you liked what you saw, if you liked the American Hunting Podcast, please subscribe below, like our channel, find us on Facebook and Instagram, and like us there as well, as much as we like you. We've also got some recommended videos and things for you to watch. So thanks again, take care, and keep looking out for us because we're coming.